My name is Ciara, and I am 57 years old. My life is as simple as the small town where I live, a little town in the mountains of western North Carolina. I work as a librarian at the city library. The job isn't glamorous, but I love the peaceful atmosphere among the old bookshelves, the feeling of talking with kids who come to borrow comic books, or the elderly looking for a few gardening books to forget about their age. I only have one son named Galvin. I lost my husband when Galvin was just 12 years old. He passed away suddenly from a heart attack, leaving me with a young boy still in school and a pile of unpaid bills. But I got through it. I took on extra jobs at night, saving every penny to raise my son properly. Over the years, I never once thought about remarrying. Galvin was my entire world. We used to be very close. When Galvin was in college in Raleigh, he would call every weekend to tell me about his friends and his exams. On every holiday, the two of us would prepare dinner together in the small kitchen. I cooked, and Galvin helped pick the vegetables and played music to fill the house with warmth. I used to believe that bond would never change. But everything changed after Galvin married Rachel, a lively, beautiful, and sociable young woman. I was happy for my son, truly, but I couldn't deny the feeling of distance slowly appearing. They had busy jobs in the city, new groups of friends, and trips I was never invited to join. I kept telling myself not to be selfish. My son had his own family now, and that was perfectly normal. That day was a Friday morning. Rachel called me, her voice cheerful. "Mom, we're hosting a family dinner this weekend. Some of Rachel's relatives are visiting, so it's a good chance for everyone to meet. Please come, it'll be fun." Hearing Rachel say that, my heart felt strangely warm. It had been a long time since I had the chance to see the whole family together. I immediately started thinking about what gift to bring for my little grandchild, who had just begun to toddle. Maybe a handmade cloth doll or a set of children's picture books. I wanted the gift to be meaningful, not too flashy, but enough for the little one to remember their grandmother. That entire day, I went in and out of the souvenir shop in town, carefully holding each item as if it carried all my love. In the end, I chose a light brown teddy bear made of the softest fabric I could find. I imagined my grandchild hugging the bear as they slept, and my heart fluttered with childlike excitement. But the next morning, as I was preparing to bake a cake to bring to the dinner, the phone rang. It was Galvin. His voice was low and hurried. "Mom, the dinner tonight is canceled. Rachel's not feeling well, so we probably can't host. We'll do it another time." I froze for a moment, still holding the wooden spoon in my hand. "Rachel's sick? Do you need me to come over and help?" "No, Mom, it's fine. She's just not feeling well. We'll handle it ourselves. Please take a rest." The call ended, and I stood still in the kitchen, dazed. I thought I heard faint laughter and chatter in the background, like the sound of a crowd. But I told myself I must have misheard. I didn't want to think negatively. Maybe Galvin was calling from work, or someone was just passing by. I set the wooden spoon down on the table and sat in silence for a long time. The cake batter was still unfinished. The teddy bear lay neatly in the gift box on the kitchen counter, looking out of place. I told myself that canceling the dinner was normal. Rachel was really sick, or maybe something unexpected had happened. Even so, the emptiness in my heart grew a little bigger. That day passed quietly. I cleaned the house, trying to fill the void with little chores. But my mind couldn't stop thinking about the canceled dinner. I glanced at the gift box on the kitchen table, the soft teddy bear I had chosen so carefully, and the feeling of disappointment weighed heavier. Late in the afternoon, a light drizzle began to fall. I put on my coat and decided to go buy some groceries at the nearby store to keep myself busy. My car drove past the neighborhood where Galvin and Rachel lived. The two-story house was brightly lit from a distance, so different from the quiet scene I had imagined. I slowed down, planning to drive past slowly just to feel reassured. But as I got closer, I saw that the front yard was full of parked cars, all unfamiliar, not the neighbors. I recognized a few of them as belonging to Rachel's relatives. My heart suddenly pounded hard. Why are there so many cars? I wondered to myself. A fleeting thought made me uneasy. But reason quickly dismissed it. Maybe her relatives had come to visit, or there was some other reason. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. However, my foot instinctively pressed the brake as I passed the gate. The car came to a complete stop. I looked through the wooden fence. The light from the living room window glowed warmly. Laughter echoed, the clinking of dishes, and the lively chatter of people. I was stunned. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel tightly. A part of me wanted to drive away immediately, to pretend I hadn't seen anything. But my legs refused to obey. I stepped out of the car, pulling my coat tighter around me as the fine rain fell. I walked closer to the window, where the light shone the brightest. And then the scene before me felt like it tore my heart apart. Inside, the whole family was gathered around the long dining table. Galvin sat in the center, Rachel beside him, smiling brightly as she raised her glass in a toast. Around them were relatives from both sides, plates full of food. I clearly saw a large baked cake placed right in the middle of the table, the very same kind I had planned to make that morning. They were having dinner. The dinner that Galvin had told me was cancelled. I stood frozen outside the window, still holding the grocery bag I hadn't even bought yet. The rain began to fall heavier, but I couldn't feel it. All I could feel was my chest tightening, as if I had just lost the most important thing in my life. In that moment, I didn't know which emotion was stronger, pain, humiliation, or anger. All I knew was that I was being excluded. The son I had raised, sacrificed everything for, had deliberately shut me out of the family dinner. I suddenly remembered the previous times, when Galvin invited me over, but there was always some sort of rush, the uneasy looks from Rachel when I arrived. Back then, I thought I was just being too sensitive. But now, everything became clear. I stepped back, afraid someone might see me through the window. My hand gripped the plastic bag tightly, the sound of crumpled plastic echoing in the quiet, rainy night. I turned away, walking step by step away from that brightly lit house. When I got back to the car, my tears finally fell. I sat in silence, not starting the engine, letting the tears stream down my face and mix with the raindrops sliding across the windshield. I had thought I was strong, that I had overcome widowhood and the hardest years alone. But in this moment, I felt as if I had just lost my last loved one. I didn't step into that house. I didn't call Galvin to demand an explanation. I just drove home, the road blurred through the rain. My little house was as cold as my heart felt at that moment. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the gift box I hadn't been able to give to my grandchild. I opened it, my hand touching the teddy bear's soft fur. The little black plastic eyes of the bear seemed to look at me, as if silently reproaching me. I broke down and cried. I understood that some wounds could not heal right away. But I also knew I couldn't continue living in a relationship where respect no longer existed. That night, I didn't sleep. I began to think about what I would do next, not out of revenge, but to protect myself from this pain ever happening again. The next morning, the pale sunlight filtered through the curtains, but I still hadn't closed my eyes. My little house was eerily quiet, with only the ticking clock marking each beat. I brewed a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and looked at the gift box still intact. Inside, the teddy bear lay still like a witness to everything I had just gone through. I knew what I had to do. First, I took a piece of paper and handwrote a short letter to Galvin. Just a few lines, but I poured all my truest feelings into it. Son, I stood outside your window last night. I know the dinner wasn't canceled. I don't understand why you and Rachel decided to exclude me, but I have felt clearly that I am no longer welcome. I'm not blaming you, but I need to set boundaries to protect myself. I hope one day you will understand the pain I've been through. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, and sent it through the post office. I didn't want to leave it on Galvin's table like an accusation. I just wanted my son to read it calmly, without anyone watching. Next, I reviewed all the things I had quietly been doing for my son. For many years, I had been helping Galvin pay part of the house insurance, sometimes even secretly adding money to his account whenever I saw them struggling. I knew I had done that out of love, but now it was time to stop. I called the insurance company and asked to transfer the entire policy into Galvin's name. I also ended all other forms of financial support. That night, my phone kept vibrating nonstop. Galvin called, Rachel called. I didn't pick up. I needed to give them time to read the letter and think for themselves. I didn't want a conversation filled with anger. 3 days later, Galvin came to my house. When I opened the door, my son stood in front of me with a tense expression, his eyes mixed with regret. He spoke slowly. Mom, I don't know where to start. I read your letter. I stayed silent, looking at my son without saying a word. Galvin lowered his head, his hands clasped together. I was wrong. Rachel, and I thought that day should just be a gathering for Rachel's side of the family. But I know that doesn't justify lying to you and deliberately excluding you. I was too selfish. Those words tightened my heart. I was still hurt, but at least Galvin was willing to face it. I sat down at the table and gestured for my son to sit as well. I'm not asking you to choose between me and Rachel, I said calmly. But I need you to understand, I am still a part of this family. If one day you don't want me to be present, just tell me directly. Don't make me stand outside the window looking in like a stranger. Galvin burst into tears, a sight I hadn't seen in a long time. He apologized and asked for a chance to make things right. I placed my hand over my son's, holding it gently. I didn't say I forgave him immediately. I just nodded. Forgiveness takes time, and Galvin would have to prove it through his actions. A few days later, Rachel called me. Her voice was soft and uneasy. She said she realized her mistake, that she never intended to hurt me, but was only thinking about the convenience for her own relatives. I listened without interrupting. At the end, I simply said, Rachel, I hope from now on you don't forget that family is not just about blood. Family is about respect. If that no longer exists, then no one will want to return to this house. The call ended in silence. I knew both Galvin and Rachel would have a lot to think about, but I didn't want to let anger guide me. I needed to live for myself. A week later, I booked a trip I had long dreamed of but never dared to take, a journey along the coast of Florida. I arranged things at the library, packed my suitcase, and left town on a beautiful sunny morning. As the bus pulled out of the station, I looked out the window and watched the little town fade into the distance. I felt a sense of relief. I knew I still loved my son, but that love was now different. No longer unconditional sacrifice, no longer allowing myself to be hurt just for fear of losing something. I smiled. Life at 57 was far from over. I still had the right to be happy, to live true to my own values. And when I learned to love myself more, perhaps others would also learn to love me more kindly.